It's the key question every company, every organization, and every manager has to ask. What makes a great leader? Is it intelligence, confidence, salesmanship, charisma? Dr. Deepak Chopra's latest book, The Soul of Leadership, addresses that question by looking inward. Dr. Chopra is a physician, an inspirational speaker, an adjunct professor at the Kellogg School of Management, and we're delighted that he can join us today at bnet.com. Dr. Chopra, thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Now, you're trained as a physician and are well known as a leader of the mind, body, spirit healing field. How did you make the leap from that area to business leadership and management?
The key lies in the word well-being. So well-being of businesses, well-being of society, well-being of organizations. And the principles are pretty much the same. You know, they require self-awareness, self-management, awareness of the other, managing relationships. So pretty much an extension of what I do.
As I read your book, I couldn't help but think that you set a very high standard for leaders, almost, to exaggerate maybe only a little, a kind of saintliness, what you call a successful visionary. But most managers are ordinary people with problems at home and problems with emotions and things like that. How can you be both a good leader and a good person?
Actually, if you're a good person, you're automatically a good leader.
Well, how can you be a good leader and an imperfect person?
Yes. Well, you know, everybody aspires to greatness in some way or another. You can be a leader in the family. You can be a leader in your church. You can be a leader in your community, in your organization, in a political party, in the country, of the world. Those are different levels of aspiration, but the principles are exactly the same. And I think everybody has the potential to learn these principles if you know what they are. It's like riding a bike. You know, if I know how to ride a bike, I should be able to teach you how to ride a bike.
Talk about the most important of those principles.
Well, I have them all coded in the word leaders. So L stands for look and listen, but look and listen not only with the eyes and the ears, but with your mind, with your heart, and ultimately with your soul, which is a very deep level of awareness. And I do that by actually asking leaders or people aspiring to be leaders or managers or people who come to my Kellogg course, or I work with lots of multinational companies and with political leaders, incidentally, in many countries. And I actually ask them questions and then I leave it to them. So what kind of organization would you want to be a leader in? What's your vision for that organization? How would it look like? What would it feel like? What would be the energy? How would you use your skills? But then I go into little personal things like what's joyful for you? What's fun for you? What's a peak experience? What is your life purpose? What do you want to contribute? What is the quality of your personal relationships? What do you bring into a personal relationship? What are your strengths? Who are your heroes in history, in mythology, in business, or mentors, or role models? And then this kind of questioning, even in the incoming class, the undergraduate class, the graduate MBA students, you know, when they come, we ask them these questions. And, you know, then we project their answers on the screen. And all of them are shocked. They thought, they say, you know, I came to get an MBA and be a successful business person. I didn't know I wanted to change the world. And they're so surprised by their aspirations, their dreams, their longing for a better society.
That's very interesting. Would you explain the concept of synchronicity and how that applies to business leadership?
If you talk to great leaders, and this is well done research, even by Jim Collins, if you read his book, he says that every leader in the end says one of the following things: I was lucky, or I happened to be in the right place at the right time. There were a lot of meaningful coincidences. Now, if they happen to be spiritual or religious, they may use expressions like God was on my side. I seemed to be guided. There was a state of grace at times. I was being looked after. What they're tapping into is a deeper intelligence that goes beyond the personal. You might call it transpersonal, or, you know, as the transpersonal psychologists call it, or you might call it archetypal if you're familiar with the teachings of Carl Jung. But what they do is they have a relationship with the story. That's what a good brand is, by the way. A brand is an archetypal story. It has themes in it. The good guys, the bad guys, there's a little bit of intrigue, there's mystery, there's adventure, all the ingredients that make a really good soap opera. And they have a relationship with that. And, you know, a good brand is something that you will buy or use the service of, but you're actually buying the story. Apple is a story. It's a very great story, you know. And all the big brands, Nike shoes, it's the story of the African American urban hero, you know. So when one of the things I tell leaders to do is, what's your story? Okay, can you make your story emotionally and spiritually inspiring? And, you know, people will buy your story as the brand, as the service, as the product.
So apart from running out and creating a story, what can the viewers right now do today or tomorrow to make themselves better leaders?
First, ask yourself those questions that I mentioned. Who am I? What do I want? What kind of team do I want to have? What's my role in it? What are my skills and strengths? What are the skills and the strengths of the people that I want to have in my team? You see, if people are not being fully expressive in their unique strengths, they lose self-esteem. If they're not having fun. I am also a senior scientist at Gallup organization, and we find that only 20% of people in this country are engaged in what they do. About 15 to 20% are actively disengaged. They come to work unhappy, and they make it a point of making other people unhappy. And the rest kind of are punching in the clock. This costs our economy something like $380 billion a year. So what makes a fun, invigorating, productive environment? Well, if your supervisor, your manager, ignores you, your rate of disengagement goes up by 45%. If the supervisor or manager doesn't ignore you but criticizes you, your rate of engagement drops to 20%. You would rather be criticized because you're now being noticed. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if your manager notices single strength that you have, your rate of disengagement falls to less than 1%. This has huge economic implications.
Dr. Chopra, thank you. That was very interesting.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for watching.